All right, guys, welcome to another episode of Coffee and Friends podcast. Today I'm with our really special friend. We are in Culver City again at the Menardes Coffee Shop, which is on Washington and Centinela. Today I have Lenitas, which is Lena Enriquez,
Yes.
who is also an employee here at Menardes Coffee Shop. And she's a person who is growing in the industry, a person you need to look up to.
Oh.
She's a young person who has achieved a lot in a couple of years or in the hospitality industry. She's a person who is caffeinated and liberated.
Yeah.
I like that quote from your Instagram. So I get the whole caffeinated part. Mm-hmm. What about the liberated part? Can we explore that a little more?
Yeah, well, I feel like personally I've been through a lot. Especially fairly recently, I went through a really bad breakup a while ago. And when I initially made my Instagram, which is over a year ago, literally that phrase was the first thing that came to mind. And it was so perfect. I just felt so liberated to do anything I wanted and whatever made me so happy as I pleased, So
yeah,
felt extremely liberated.
Breakups do open our minds a lot sometimes. I guess it's painful.
Yeah,
it's painful, but it's always a learning phase in our lives also.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's good to talk about it. But also depends on who you want to open up to.
True.
What about you? You're a young person, as I said. You're definitely younger than I am, and like I say, you're working up your way, climbing up the ladder in this industry. But as a young person and growing up as a child, what do you recall being one of your good early memories?
Honestly, I feel like one of my earliest favorite good memories was picking lemons from my abuelita Josefina's house and making lemonade with my dad. This is in San Isidro in San Diego. She had this massive, super massive lemon tray, and you needed to use this metal pole to pick off the lemons. And they were the best tasting lemons, I swear. Yeah.
Did you ever set up a lemonade stand outside?
Yeah, any chance to make money, I'd be like, Mom, this is what I'm doing today. And I would roll up the kids on my block and have them wash cars for me and make the signs and everything. Or I set up lemonade stands or dog washing booths. Any chance I could.
Did you have a secret recipe for that lemonade?
No, just I liked it sour and sweet. So that's.
Did you have a right ratio of lemon squeeze versus water? No, but I had a
right color. It had to be the specific color.
I see.
Do you know what I'm saying? I was like, it has to be this color yellow, and that's how I knew it would taste great.
Dang, Lenita selling lemonade on the block in San Diego, huh?
Yeah.
How much was the lemonade?
Well, that was my trick. I wouldn't set a price. I'd be like, however much you think, you know? And they'd be like, take the $5, take the 20, And that's how I would make the big bucks because I wouldn't put a price on it.
Yeah, well, I feel like as humans, we always tend to see someone creating a product, and we always want to support. So it's seeing
especially
a young kid,
a child, they pull over just to pull over.
Yeah, just they find it cute. People find it cute.
Yeah, they just pull over and be like, "Oh, just take the money. I didn't want lemonade." And I'd be like, "Okay, thanks. Are you sure?"
Cool. But as long as you were squeezing the actual lemons, because there's some people that actually just use
the Minute Maid stuff. Yeah, no, never skimped out on that stuff. Especially my house, it was never like that. We never used boxed anything aside from pancakes. But come on.
You were legit then.
Yeah.
The real deal.
Yeah. I never even knew that they sold dehydrated mashed potatoes until one Thanksgiving. I went to one of my tia's houses and I saw her making them, and I asked my mom, I was like, is that okay? And she's like, yeah, it's okay. It just probably won't taste that great. I was like, okay. Making sure.
Although things are getting better now because I like to go to Trader Joe's, and Trader Joe's carries a lot of stuff that's not fully made, but,
Yeah.
Just
ready to go. Yeah. But I like cooking.
So growing up in San Diego, how was that?
I loved it because I had family in almost every zip code, So I moved a lot, though. I lived in San Diego up until I was 12. And by then, I had gone to 8 schools in San Diego. I went to 7 elementary schools, and then for 6th grade, I went to a separate school, which is in Oceanside, which is still San Diego. And then they moved to Los Angeles for 7th and 8th grade. So, yeah, I moved around a lot, so I felt like I knew San Diego. You know, I knew all the freeways, and it was easy for me to make friends, and I always had family to see on the weekends. So San Diego feels like home for many more reasons aside from being from San Diego.
Yeah. Well, since you had family from all zip codes, did you also have family in Mexico? Because you are a Spanish speaker also, right?
Yeah, but I wouldn't say I'm fluent. I'm still learning, and you know that. But yeah, I had family in Tijuana too. I've never been to Guadalajara, but I would love to go to my family's from. I also have family from Sonora too. But I mostly, being from San Diego, we went to Tijuana literally every week. It was just, oh, you want to go eat dinner? Let's go across the border, you know? Or our family too, we shared a home. It was like the Enriquez home, and it was in Tijuana. And my dad, my tia Stella, my tio Huicho, they all were kind of on like the name under the property because it belonged to my tata. And so when he passed away, it was one of the homes that everybody got to keep. And so people would just go over there and stay there. And we had family like take turns living there. So we're always over there.
That's awesome. I mean, a place that nobody really claims for themselves, but where the whole family gets together, huh?
Yeah. It was everyone's home.
That's cool because most families, they always fight for property.
Yeah, yeah. I think a lot later down the line, I think now my tio Huicho is the one that owns it. I think that he ended up buying them out for it. But the beautiful thing about my family is that they're like, oh, it's still your home, you know? Yeah. But it's beautiful.
It's good that you are close with your family, you know?
Yeah.
You mentioned that you guys used to go down to Tijuana to eat some dinner and stuff. So what would be the one thing you recall enjoying down in Tijuana?
Eat, honestly, I'd say either the rolled tacos, but like the really long ones, like the really big ones. They weren't flautas because they were still corn tortillas, but they were really big. Like that was my favorite. But my always like favorite thing to eat is chilaquiles.
Yes.
Every breakfast, I'm like chilaquiles every single day. Red ones, red, please.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Do you know how to make your own chilaquiles?
Yes, of course.
You have a secret sauce and all?
I do.
What's your secret?
I can't tell you. Or else it won't be a secret anymore. Just know that it's red and it's delicious. Well,
if you can't tell me, then I need to definitely try it and see.
Yeah, I can do that for you.
Try and see how good it is.
Okay, definitely. Yeah.
But did you ever have any restrictions as far as like food goes?
Well, I'm pescatarian, if that's what you mean, like dietary. I wouldn't say it's a restriction, but I guess it is. But I've been pescatarian for, I'd say like 12 years, almost 13 now. And which that means, if people don't know, is that I, meat-wise, only eat seafood, things from the ocean. But even then, I'm still feeling guilty about it. Because I'm like, I shouldn't be eating as much sushi as I do, but I love sushi.
It's amazing.
Or mariscos. Yeah. Have you ever been to Coney Seafood?
Yes.
So good. Yeah.
It's pretty good.
It's one of my favorite spots.
I go to Aurori for sushi. That's where I go.
Oh, never been there.
Definitely got to check it out.
Yeah.
I mean, now with COVID and stuff, and there are not many people sit in, but the whole experience was the fact that when you go in there, I don't even know if I should tell you because I don't want to ruin like the whole experience.
No, okay. Well, tell me.
Because it is an experience, you know, like when you walk in, the first thing you see is people sitting on the floor.
Oh, that's cool.
But they're not really sitting on the floor.
No,
just sort of like a deck that every table has like the holes so that your feet can dangle and stuff, and so like, you're sitting.
Oh
yes,
like I have floor, to go there.
It's quite nice. But
the
food is also
I'm gonna need you to send that to me, please.
Yeah.
Especially aside from COVID, I really want to go. I miss going out like that, eating at the sushi bar.
You do have to remove your shoes to walk through the restaurant, though.
That's fine.
You also mentioned that moving. I mean, obviously having family scatter, you change schools a lot, right?
Yeah.
So, how did that function as far as like having friends or adapting to the new location?
I mean, honestly, I thought it was normal. like, I didn't think twice about it at all. There was one year, I think it was 4th grade, where everybody was like, oh, what class do you think you're going to be in next year? And I was like, I'm not going to be here next year. I was like, you're going to go to school here next year? And they're like, yeah. And I was like, wait, so, like, you've been here every year? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know, like, you did that. Like, I thought it was just a thing that people moved around.
Yeah.
But I moved so much because I had a single mom, and so she'd find better places to live, you know? She'd be like, oh, this area's better. We're going to move. You guys will get to have your own bedrooms here, you know? And it was exciting. It was always like, oh, we're going to move. I can't wait to see it, you know? Oh, we can paint our rooms this time. Oh, we don't have to have a bunk bed anymore, you know? But it never really bothered me. I feel like it was the type of life that I would have wanted either way from the start, because I love meeting people, you know, and I love new spaces, and it never really was a problem. I think it was a little harder when I got older and when I moved to LA, because that was the first time where I was like, oh, people are different here, you know? It was like the first time people questioned my ethnicity and, like, where I'm from. And
Why would they question your ethnicity?
It was, you know? They were like, I mean, I remember I had moved from Oceanside to Crenshaw, and it was just so different.
You were just too light for that neighborhood.
They were like, are you white? And I was like, no. And they were like, but you look white. And I'm like, no one's ever said that to me before. Yeah. And I went home and I was like, Mom, am I white? And she was like, no. And I was like, but people are telling me that I'm white. And she's like, so? It doesn't mean anything.
I mean, they're judging you by what the physical appearance they see on the outside, right?
Yeah.
But not, I mean, that's probably like not knowing who you are as a person. You know, they're not giving themselves a chance to get to know who you are.
Yeah, and I feel like in San Diego, I feel like for the most part, mostly everyone is Latino or Latina. You know, it just like, and it wasn't a question of like what you looked like. It was like, it just didn't, at least like the area that I'm from, because it's literally the exit before the border, you know, so it just wasn't a thing. So that was like the only time where it was like tricky. I was like, where do I fit in? You know?
We're looking for stability in one location, which is now LA. How long have you been in LA for?
Now I've been in LA. I'm 23, right? Yeah, I'm 23. I've been here for 11 years. So it's reaching the point. Yeah. When I turn 24, it'll be exactly half of my life here and half of my life over there. So I feel connected here in a different way. Like, I feel like I grew up in a mature way here, you know? Like, I developed my sense of self here, but, like, my childhood and, like, the deep-rooted persona of where I'm from is in San Diego.
Yes.
It's crazy how different it is, you know? I went to high school here. I graduated middle school here. I did go away for college for my freshman year. I went to Chicago.
Nice.
And that was fun. But when I had gotten to Chicago, people were like, where are you from? And I was like, oh, I don't know what to say. Like, am I from LA or am I from San Diego? So I'd be like, I'm from SoCal. I was like, I didn't know what to say, you know? And they're like, oh, what part? And I'm like, I guess both. So I just kind of embody both now. Yeah. It's pretty much the same amount, you know?
Correct.
Yeah.
But do you think you have, I mean, I feel like the lifestyles are pretty similar too, right? I mean,
San Diego are and they aren't. Because I feel like the sense of family and things like that are a little different, you know? Different yet the same. And or even like I can't speak about going to Tijuana and it being such like a beautiful and open thing here, because the second I say that, they're like, ew, you go to Tijuana, you know? Or they're like, oh, don't people die there? And I'm like, don't say it. Like, no, like it's a beautiful place. Yeah. And they're like, no, you know? So it's hard to speak about where I'm from here because there's a different perspective on it than down in San Diego, you know? Also, people dress different, which is interesting.
Really?
Yeah, because in LA, people I feel like are a lot more up to date on like what's stylish and like the trends and everything. And I'll go to San Diego and they're like 2 years behind, you know? Like, oh, like they're dressing the way I dressed 2 years ago, you know? And just like the little things I notice.
Yeah, I think it has to do a lot with LA having Hollywood here too. You know? And like
yeah, for sure.
all these what do you call it, influencers that like to stay up to date with everything.
Yeah, I remember my stepsisters. They were the ones who showed me who the Kardashians were. Like, really? I was like, so what do they do? And they were like, I mean, nothing. And I was like, okay.
They just live their life. And
yeah, they would watch the show, and I remember it was like, I wasn't able to watch TV because the TV was in the living room, and only my mom had the remote.
Allowed to watch novellas,
huh? Yeah, yes and no, you know. So I was like, oh, okay, like that's interesting. There's a lot of learning I had to do when I moved here.
No, but I completely understand that feeling because I myself, when I moved from Mexico, come into a country that's, I don't know, more civilized than my hometown in Mexico. There's a lot to learn. I mean, for me, it was the language. It was all the all the culture they had here. So it was challenging. And TV is definitely one thing I did not really watch a lot.
Yeah.
And I was more focused on learning the language, going to school, and then I started working at an early age. So even when I interviewed for Benani's, they were asking me questions about like the type of music I listen to and all this stuff, and I was like, honestly, I don't know music.
Really? Yeah. That's what you said?
Yeah.
Wow.
And even when we work on bar, every time you guys ask like, what do you want to play next? I'm like,
yeah, you do always say that. That makes sense. I'm like, Juan, what do you want to listen to?
I don't really know music, and the things that I'm learning to enjoy now, it's because you guys play a certain type of music,
That must be nice though, being exposed and trying new things, like musically,
Exactly. I mean, it's different. Like you say, now I'm reaching that point where yes, I have lived half my life here in LA now.
Yeah.
Where yes, things are changing, mentally and everything's.
Especially during a pandemic.
Yeah.
There's so much changing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So where did you graduate high school from?
I graduated high school from Lawndale High School, which is in the South Bay. It's near Hawthorne High School. I went to Hawthorne High School my freshman year. And then after my freshman year, I was like, I don't want to go here anymore. So I went to Lawndale, and I was living in Lawndale already. So it just kind of worked out that way.
Yeah.
And it was nice. I enjoyed Lawndale, but the school was like under construction the whole time I was there, so it was changing every year. Each building was like a building would get torn down, and then there'd be a building up and ready to go. So in a way, it was nice because me being the type of person who likes change and moving around, I felt like I went to multiple schools in my high school because it was changing so frequently. But yeah.
What would you consider to be your favorite subject in school?
I'd say the arts. Honestly, yeah. The arts or English. English because it just comes so easy for me. Like if I didn't get 100% on an English essay, I would be offended. I'd be like, "Are you kidding me?" And the arts because I love the arts. I was in the AMA Academy of Media Arts. I was in every school play and every concert and every ukulele show, and I took music classes. I learned how to play some songs on piano and guitar, and I would write songs. I loved it.
Nice.
Yeah.
So you did like the attention too, because you like to be on stage and stuff.
I did, but I was like, don't show me any pictures or videos. I don't want to see any proof of it happening.
Is there? We have to dig for those.
No, please don't.
Dude, you have to show us some of that stuff. We're going to go back and...
Yeah. But yeah, I have a ukulele, so I still have that. Nice. I bring it around sometimes. I think you've seen it.
I think I've seen you with that. Yeah.
Yeah. I've been playing ukulele since I was like 14, 15.
Nice.
But yeah.
Well, right after high school, man, what was the dream? Were you trying to pursue like an acting career or singing career?
No, I don't know. I went to Columbia and Chicago. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do. I just knew that I loved the arts, and I had the time of my life. But at the end of it, I just felt like I wasn't being challenged, and I felt like I was spending all this money on something I already knew how to do, and like I had already embodied. And I just didn't feel like it was ethical to keep going there and, having my mom pay for my school tuition when, like, I fully don't know what to do with it. So I ended up moving back home and going to El Camino to take more classes and figure it out what I wanted to do realistically. But I had initially gone there to study fine art and play with theater some more. And there was a moment where I was like, I would like to do art therapy. But then I was like, no, I don't want to make doing art a job. So I was like, I changed my mind.
Challenging job,
Yeah, that would be challenging too. It's heavy, I imagine, therapy and taking care of people in that sense.
Well, it's funny that, the fact that you enjoy performing and stuff and being in LA at that time, right? Why not pursue like that whole acting career?
It's so funny you asked that because I just hung out with Jenna and Stephanie yesterday, and they were saying that I needed to get back into that. And I was like, I don't know. I don't know.
Hey, it's funny that, you live in a city,
I know.
You work in an industry that you never know if you're talking to the next director or something. And
I know, this is true. I know, but
I have met a lot of people in the hospitality industry who, bartenders, servers who are taking those jobs just because they want to focus more on their acting career.
Yeah. I just think that coffee makes me so happy and it's so fun, and in a way it does feel like a performance.
Yeah.
And at the same time it does feel like I'm catering to people and getting to know people. So it feels like it checks all the boxes, at least right now. And it genuinely brings me joy. Like, I have so much fun, and I can be artistic at the same time because I practice my latte art all the time, and I'm very proud of it and how much I have grown, like on that end of my skill set. But yeah.
Well, I met you here at Menani's as a barista. Mm-hmm. When I started, I don't know exactly who was in charge. All I knew was Nicely was sort of like head barista.
Yeah.
And there was a lot of other people.
Yeah.
But now, to this date, you have challenged yourself and you have moved up the ladder. So you are currently managing one of the stores.
Yeah, managing Menani's Venice Beach.
Yeah. And how do you feel about that? Like, do you think that's one of your earliest challenges?
I was so excited about it, and I still am. I love it so much. It's really nice to be that like familiar face and to be head of ship of something, especially when you're 23, I didn't expect for that to happen so fast for me because my first coffee job I was 17 and I was at Pete's Coffee. And I remember always feeling like I was growing and learning so much, and I didn't feel like it was paying off until I moved up the ladder so fast here at Menani's. I felt like for the first time, all the work and time I've put into being the best worker I possibly could be as in a coffee shop, it finally was being put to use somewhere, and it's a whole learning experience. Like, I would love to have my own coffee shop at some point. I would love to have a spot where people feel like I have to go there. Like, this is my to-do list this week.
Well, like you say, it's a learning experience because nobody really is born knowing everything, right? So obviously, I feel like a lot of people who reject a position like that sometimes are afraid of what's to come, or like the requirements or the challenges ahead. And like you said, it's not necessarily conquering that fear, but it's learning and having the right support to help you every day.
Yeah.
But what is that? Now that you're focusing a lot of your time in a company like this, what about school? Where does that leave school?
Well, I had taken a break from school because I was going through a lot, given the breakup that we had mentioned in the beginning of the podcast. And I just needed a break, at least from going to a campus where I might possibly see someone that I didn't want to see, and sharpen my skills in a possible career. Being my own business owner, being a business owner myself is a possible route that I'd like to go on. But at the same time, like, I don't want to give up on school. I want to return to classes immediately and continue to take classes. But it's just hard finding the time for everything, and I definitely am planning to go back this following semester because I'm going out of town for 2 weeks. I'm going to Yellowstone, which I think you've heard. No? Going to Yellowstone on the 18th of this month, September. going to be there for 2 weeks. And so there's no way I could have been present in the classroom digitally while I'm backpacking in the middle of Wyoming, you know. But I do plan on taking classes this coming winter at least and just getting back into it because even before COVID and everything, I was always a full-time worker and a full-time student. Like I made it work, you know, like I would designate exactly 2 days of just full-time classes. And those 2 days were my days off from work. And I would still work 5 days. And I would do my homework immediately after my shifts. Or I would do all my homework right after my classes so that I wouldn't have to worry about them when I would go to work. And it just kept me going. Like every week I always had to be somewhere or had something to do. But I really enjoyed it because it gave me no room to like slip around or mess up, you know? Yeah. So, but it was nice for this past couple months or year or so to have a break from not having a single day off, you know? Yeah. But yeah, that's something I do.
But since you're planning on returning to school, what would be the main focus in school?
Oh, geology. I've been studying geology for about 3 years now.
It's not acting, not performing.
No.
You're gonna be a geologist.
My dream world is that I own a coffee shop or a restaurant or however it's gonna be. I own my own business and I'm working contracts in volcanology or geology. So I'll be away for certain summers or winters. And leave the business behind for whoever's managing my store location, you know? Like, that's my dream world, is to be able to do both. Do everything that I want, you know? Be able to go away and bring back some things to bring to the shop and display, like, oh, this is where Lena went, you know, and bring some of that. Or go to the Galapagos Islands and check out the hot spot over there, like, you know, the volcanic activity and bring back some coffee, you know, and like throw that in the bean hopper for this week, you know. I just want to be everywhere. And at the same time, I want to be everywhere just all the time. Nice. I love bouncing around. But yeah, I know it sounds like a lot, but it's going to happen.
Sounds like a lot, but it also sounds fun, you know? And obviously, having that dream or that goal to achieve most of that stuff, I mean, it'll happen, you know?
Yeah.
You're putting that energy out there.
Yeah, and I'm not a quitter, so watch out. Because it's going to happen.
What is this coffee shop going to be called?
I don't know. I don't know what it's going to be called, but I know what it's going to look like and feel like and smell like, and I don't know the name yet. So if you have any great ideas, let me know so I can throw those in the mix.
Yeah. And coffee. Why coffee, though?
I love how coffee is a ritual, you know? Yeah. It's a ritual and it gets people up in the morning, you know? And, like, there are many reasons to get up in the morning, you know? Like, there are many beautiful reasons, but, like, to be a reason for a mass amount of people of why they're getting up, like, that brings me joy, you know? And I would love to be a part of someone's morning every single day if I could, you know? Because if my day's not going well, at least I could make their day go well. Yep. And that's something I could say I accomplished in a year, you know, is made these amount of people happy, aside from bad Yelp reviews, which occasionally happen.
You say you started at a young age of 17 working in the industry.
Coffee, yeah.
Yes. How did that go about choosing a job at a teenage?
Well, what had happened was I was 16 initially, right? And I was in theater and stuff, and I didn't have money to buy myself food during my rehearsal breaks. And I told my mom, I was like, Mom, like, she's like, either pack yourself food or get a job and pay for food, you know? And I was like, okay, screw it, I'll get a job. So one day, walking home from school, I stopped at like almost every single restaurant and every single store seeing if they were hiring. And I ran into this one burger spot in Lawndale or Manhattan Beach area, somewhere around there. And they ended up hiring me, and I worked there for like a year and a half. And around the halfway point, I was over it. I hated that job. It was the worst. I was 16. I was the youngest one there, and like, I just didn't like it. It made me so sad. I couldn't even eat the food. It was all burgers, you know, like, what am I going to eat? And one day I went to Manhattan Beach with my brother. And I walked into this coffee shop, which happened to be Pete's Coffee. I didn't know what Pete's Coffee was at this time. And I asked the guy who happened to be the manager. I didn't know he was a manager. I asked him for a like matcha blended thing, but matcha blended. I think they called them Javivas at the time or something else. I don't remember. But I asked him to throw a banana in there. And he was like, a banana? And I was like, yeah, like, that sounds good, you know? And he was like, I like the way you think. And I was like, okay. And so he made it. And then at the end of it, like, I guess, like, emulsified enough for him to try some.
Yeah.
And he liked it. And he was like, hey, young lady, like, if you ever, like, are interested in getting a job, you know, in coffee or something, like, here's an application. He's like, just write matcha girl on it so I'll know that it's you. And I was like, okay. And so I applied. Girl, huh? Yeah. And I applied and I got hired like literally on the spot. It was crazy. And it just happened by accident. And I just fell in love with it. Like I had my first tasting and everything. And so yeah, so I worked for Pete's Coffee until I was like 20. Yeah. No. Yeah, until I was like 20 because even when I went to Chicago, they just transferred me to Pete's Coffee in Chicago.
Nice.
Which is nice, yeah. So I worked there for 3 years, and I basically grew up with that company. They were so nice to me, so good to me, so flexible with my school schedule and everything. And even when I had to go away for college, they still like, you will still have a job with us. Like, tell us where you're living, and we'll find you a Pete's Coffee, you know? And of course, there came a point where I was like, sorry, Pete's, but I've like perfected everything from here, and there's nothing else for me to learn. Like, it's time for me to go.
I had an apple now instead of a banana to matcha, bro.
Yeah, I don't know about that. But I was like, it's time to go. And so I started leaning my way towards specialty coffee. Because even when I worked at Pete's, I had taught myself how to do latte art, like, on my own, even though the pitchers didn't have spouts.
Yeah.
But I was so fascinated by, like, the Pacific boxes, and I was like, I want to learn how to do that. So just practice. And I was like, yeah, I want to work somewhere where I have to do this every drink.
Nice.
And so I ended up moving out and found a better location to learn about latte art.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned specialty coffee. What is specialty coffee for you? What do you consider that to be? From Pete's Coffee or Starbucks, I mean, people consider specialty coffee to be the next step, right?
Yeah.
But for you personally, what do you consider that to be, specialty coffee?
I consider specialty coffee a space where you take the time to make sure that what you're making is perfectly crafted to be the best that it can be, you know? Because at Pete's Coffee, there was no measuring out anything or tamping or TDSing coffee, you know? Like, it literally was just like push of a button. You didn't think twice about it. And I feel like that kind of cuts off the potential of what you could be making, you know? Like, if you're going to make something, don't you want to make it the best that you possibly can, you know? You don't just want to, like, wing it. So to me, specialty coffee is like taking the time to make sure that it's actually special.
Yeah.
You know? At least that's what it means to me.
Yeah, I mean, there's something special about, you know, taking that time to create an experience. And, you know, we're visually, when you're pouring latte art, you're performing, like you said, for a guest. Yeah. And that's, I mean, for them, that's very valuable sometimes, you know?
Yeah.
But the services, other than everything being automized from Pete's Coffee, I mean, the service is also different from a company like that to a smaller mom and pop shop. Mm-hmm. So how do you feel about performing that?
I am forever thankful towards Pete's for teaching me how to hustle my ass, you know, how to work like quick and efficiently. And because there'd be screens of just like the second it'd pop up on the screen, it wouldn't be a color. But if it turned green, it'd be 2 minutes. If it turned yellow, it meant 3 minutes. And if it turned red, it meant 5 minutes. And, like, red zone is a no-go, you know? So, like, there would be, like, multiple shifts where I was alone on bar and, like, there was a screen of red. And it really taught me how to work under peer pressure. So now, like, no matter how busy it is, I never freak out. I never fumble. I'm like, I'm going to complete it, you know? Like, there's, like, I understand that there's a way that people can reason, and even I can reason with myself, you know? Like, don't don't stress over things that are out of your control.
Over spilled milk.
Yes, over spilled milk. So it's obviously so different. Like here at Minotti's, like I've literally been told a million times, slow down. You need to slow down. Yeah. You're moving too fast. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Like this is how I move. You know, like I like again being like doing it the best that I can. But then I'm it's challenging, but refreshing that I'm being taught to kind of undo that in a way, but at the same time I'm like, guys, meet me in the middle because I still want to be the fastest one. Yeah. You know, like I like being a fast.
Challenge you said, and you like to be fast.
You know, so like I want to be able to do it your way, but at my pace. Yeah. You know, and so I'm learning that a lot here every single day. Like I'm like, okay, I can slow down here, but I'm gonna go fast here. You know, so I'm like trying to find the right balance.
Well, what about the lingo? You know, because the lingo from a Pete's Coffee or a Starbucks is, I feel like, even though there's certain drinks that are called the same, but there's...
I've learned to just accept that everyone calls things differently. Correct. You know, so yeah. I'm not here to correct and like unteach someone something that they think is right. I'm just like, oh, like, just, you know, here, this is what we call it, so that next time you're here, you're certain you're going to get what you want. Yes. You know, like I like to phrase things that way I don't put like the pressure of like a lesson onto them. You know, I'm like, hey, just so you know, in this space, like, or at these particular shops, like this is what you're ordering, that way you don't accidentally get what you don't want, you know. And I mean, every single day, like if I go to a shop and I have to ask them, like, do you make this? Like, oh, is this what you call this? Just to be sure, you know, because I mean, in general, with everything, with every language, there is no universal way to say something. Correct. You know, so, I mean, there's no winning when it comes to that.
Macchiatos?
Yeah. You know, I'm like, just so you know, we do traditional macchiatos, not latte macchiatos. And they're like, what? What is that? Yeah.
But even like, a lot of people don't know what a traditional macchiato is. So it's like, all they know a macchiato is what
you could read people though. You know, I'm like, just so you know, your drink's gonna be like this big. Yeah. And they're like, oh no, that's not what I want.
Yeah. Well, growing up in a Latino family and stuff, you know, we are accustomed to drinking like that instant coffee or the café de olla and stuff. Yeah. So my question to you, because you stepped into a coffee shop, which is Pete's, and ordered a matcha. Mm-hmm. But what was the first time you recall having coffee?
My mom's coffee. My mom liked coffee with her creamer, realistically.
With her creamer?
With her creamer. Like, it basically was the palest color you could possibly go. And I had to learn how to make her coffee, and it was like a ton of scoops of sugar and milk. So I remember trying that and loving it because it tasted just like sweet. Yes. Like, it didn't taste like coffee. But that was my earliest memory of trying coffee. Of course, like an even earlier memory was like seeing my older cousin drink it, and I asked my tia if I could have some, and she was like, no, if you have some, you're going to grow gray hair, and you're not going to grow any taller than that. And I was like, okay, never mind, I don't want coffee. I don't want to be 4 feet. Yeah.
It's like, you're not going to drink coffee because
you're
going to stay short. You know? Or that's what people think.
Yeah, she's like, you're never going to grow again. And I was like, okay, never mind. But yeah, that's an even earlier memory. But I remember, so when I had worked at Pete's and trying a tasting, it was the first time I enjoyed black coffee. And I was like, oh, this is a whole world that, like, I should really, like, take the time to understand, you know? I was really excited about it. I was like, oh, I can be pretentious. Oh, yeah, I can make a French press. I was, like, 17, you know? But, yeah.
What is your favorite choice to drink right now?
An iced oat milk cappuccino with simple syrup. Sometimes I'll do a small latte instead. Yes. But I can't do any more milk than, was it 10 ounces, that cup, the ice cup?
The large one? Right? 60. The small one is 12.
And then even then, like, I'm like, oh, I don't know why I ordered that. Like, I know what I like, you know? But yeah,
and you throw us off when you ordered the large one. We're like, what?
Yeah, you guys were like, are you sure? And then I took a sip and I was like, oh, why didn't I listen to them? This isn't what I want. You guys were so right. But yeah, so an iced oat milk cappuccino.
So that's what you usually order at a coffee shop. But what about home? Do you ever brew at home, or do you make coffee at home?
I had a Breville, and then it stopped working. So, but when my Breville was working, I would make an iced oat milk cappuccino. But aside from that, I like to make pour overs. That's one of my favorites. So good. It's like the perfect amount.
What do you usually use to make pour over?
Well, I'll use a Chemex.
Chemex?
Yeah, I'll do a Chemex and I'll have some to share.
Dope.
You know, yeah, I like sharing my coffee. I rarely like make anything just for myself. Like I always make extra, always. I'm like, Mom, do you want some? Or whoever I'm with, I'm like, take some. I'm cooking for you. It's not your choice. You're gonna eat. You know, you're gonna drink. So Chemex is like, it's a nice thing. I can share it, or have some more if I'd like. So yeah, especially when I go camping, I'll make a Chemex.
How do you take a Chemex? I mean, you have to be very cautious with that.
No, you just wrap it up in like your towel or your blanket, you know.
Yeah.
There's a way. I love camping. I camp a lot. You know this. So, yeah. And you just boil water and just make a Chemex, you know.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, as far as like managing a staff of about 6 people now.
Yeah.
What do you think is one of the biggest challenges you have come across?
I don't like telling people what to do. But I'm learning, like, Lena, you got to tell people what to do. Yeah. Like, that's your job, you know. But I think the biggest challenge is understanding that if anything goes wrong, it falls on you.
Correct.
You know, and so I have to look out for myself, and that means being able to tell people what to do and making sure that it's happening. You know, it almost feels parental, you know, but I don't want it to feel that way. But I'm learning the difference, you know. I do feel fortunate enough that, like, I still can leave my job behind the door when I leave, you know, like, it's not the constant thing that's on my brain because, you know, it's not my coffee shop, you know, so that's nice. But, yeah, the most challenging thing is just managing people. But I knew that going into it because my mom said the hardest job you ever have is managing people. Yeah. It's not being a manager.
But I feel like as an experience, right? It's learning also how to separate that friendship zone versus, you know, you're no longer a friend, you know?
Yeah, I'm no longer just Lena.
Correct.
You know?
Yeah, so, I mean, I feel like in my history of working in the hospitality industry, it's just that was one of the biggest problems.
Yeah.
Trying to still be friends with your coworkers, you know, instead of having that boundary of, you know, we need to take care of business first before we even deal with this. You know?
Yeah, and for sure.
And also for you, you know, you say you're 23, and then...
Yeah, I'm the youngest one here.
You are the youngest, so obviously you feel that, I mean, that there's that sense of authority that, you know, that sometimes you need to project.
Yeah.
You know? And it's not about whether I'm going to say something that's going to upset that person.
Yeah.
It's like, it needs to be done.
Yeah, it needs to be said. It needs to be done.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm still learning. You know, every day's a learning process. We'll get the full confidence soon. You know, I'm confident in my capabilities and everything, you know, but it's just learning and being patient with myself too, you know, and thankfully I have people above me who are being just as patient with me, you know, so.
Plus you're being challenged every day, so there you go.
Yeah.
Sounds like you're going to stay here for a long time.
Yeah, I've never written so many emails, like ever, you know, aside from school, but like that's a different type of email, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, dude. I mean, being challenged every day by, you know, simple things of like, we're running low on this, or something didn't work out as expected, or something wasn't delivered. You know?
Yeah. These past 3 days were the first 3 days I was off where no one told me that they needed me to do something, and it was so nice. I was like, yes. Success. Yeah. Success.
There you go. Well, as far as Menottes goes, they posted a post about you and talked a little bit about what you do for them and stuff, and also posted a picture of you and vinyls, music and stuff.
Yeah.
So what would you call, other than those vinyls, what other type of genre of music do you like? I'm
not picky. People ask me this question all the time, and when I say I like everything, I fully mean it. Like, they're like, even country? And I'm like, I mean, come on. Like, there's some songs in country everybody likes, you know, like that one song. And she's like, I took my key into his car with its pretty little faces. Like, you're not going to tell me you don't like that song, you know? Like, if I like one, I can't say I don't like it, you know? But I love music, you know? Like, anything, I feel like it's easy to attach genres to certain situations and certain feelings, you know, like I love reggae, I love alternative, I love Spanish rock, classic rock, some pop, rarely though, rarely pop. But yeah, I love music, and being someone who was involved with music a lot, you know, writing songs and everything, like I truly, truly do love it, you know? Yeah.
Well, going through heartbreaks and also accomplishing a lot in your life,
Mm-hmm.
who would you consider to be your most inspirational person or the people you look up to?
I'd say my mom.
Your mom?
Just my mom, yeah. I have like this very strict rule where I don't idolize people because it gets messy, you know? But I love my mom. I'm like, she's an amazing woman, you know? Yeah. I never went a day without being fed, and I always had clean clothes, and like the water was going and power was going, and she's truly an example of someone who's climbed the ladder, because my mom had me when she was 18. You know, she finished high school early so she can have me, and she started out working at Vaughn's, and now she's like a logistics manager for the Nike office in the studio, in their studio. No, what's it called? Their studio office. Yeah, like she's truly like, she came from absolutely nothing and just made it, you know. And I truly admire my mom for how hard she's worked, and she's raised two kids by herself, you know.
When it comes to the maternal instinct, I mean, that's just something that's always
Yeah.
amazing. You know, the way they make everything happen. Obviously, they always worry about their kids. You know, they're the ones that have to be fed and stuff. So you guys are the most important thing above everything.
Yeah, but I mean, even not everyone can say that. You know, not everyone has an amazing mom.
Yeah.
So I'm just very thankful that my mom is the way that she is. You know, because she really does set the bar for what it means to be a woman. You know, and yeah, I look up to her so much. I'm so close. I love her so much. So thankful for her. Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I like that. And I'm pretty sure you have learned a lot from like the way she projects herself and absorb a lot of the things.
Yeah, she
handles herself.
Yeah, she was always very strict with me and very firm, and I'm so thankful for it, because I wouldn't be the way that I am if she weren't, you know. So, yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, especially like you said, you know, she was a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so I'm pretty sure you have seen her.
Yeah.
You know, struggling or doing things.
That woman's strong. Like, Jesus, how does she do it? She just does it, you know.
Nice. But as far as social media and stuff, where can people find you?
Oh, so you can find me on Instagram. My name is Lenitas, which is Leniiiitas. Lenitas.
And that's on Instagram.
Mm-hmm. I just have Instagram.
I just noticed you do not just have Instagram.
What else do I have?
TikTok.
Oh, true. I have TikTok too. Same handle, Lenitas with 3 eyes. Yeah, you can find me on TikTok.
She's gonna be our next influencer, guys.
Fingers crossed.
She's not gonna open a coffee shop. She's gonna be an influencer. Get a house in the hills and be a Hollywood actress.
You guys can all come over and we can all have a party. Have latte art throwdowns in my backyard. That would be fun.
So what is the one thing you love pouring when it comes to
swans?
Coffee? Swans?
Hands down. Swans are my favorite thing to pour. Yeah. Brandon always calls me Lenny Swans because it's literally the one thing I pour all the time.
Lenny Swans. There you go. That's your coffee shop name.
I don't know. We'll see. I don't know how I feel about my name being on it.
A white swan.
A white swan.
Lenny's.
Lenny Swans, yeah.
You don't even have to spell the word swan. Just write Lenny's. True. And then just have a freaking swan.
True. Good idea. I'm going to need you to draw that up for me, please. Okay?
How is that going to look? Yeah.
We'll see. I think it'll look great. Yeah. But yeah, swans are my favorite thing to pour. Ask me and I'll do it for you. No problem.
We're going to feature a matcha banana blend.
Yes. As the start. It'll be called the start. The start of it all. The chapter 1 of the coffee.
So what are your next plans for the next couple of years after COVID?
Well, I want to get back into school, at least get my bachelor's, finish that. Hopefully get in the works of getting a business going, you know, but everything's up in the air. Can't be too sure about anything, but I'm open to all possibilities, you know. Yeah. But yeah, pretty much those 2 things, school and getting a business going. That's what I want for sure.
And at this specific moment, what is the one thing you've been thinking about? Like, what is on your mind right now?
With pandemic in mind, is just being, I don't know, just being here for everyone and everything, you know. We're all going through a lot right now, and especially with difficult conversations with our families, whether it be political or personal, you know, just trying to be the best version of myself for everyone, you know, and just trying to be present. That's my number one thing, because you never know what's going to happen. That's what I've learned this year.
We have challenges even dealing with certain customers right now, wearing their masks or following guidelines and stuff. I know. Wear your mask, please. But seeing that in family, or like with the protests that are happening and stuff, you know, do you encounter anything within your family of like racism or like not following guidelines and stuff like that?
Thankfully, my family follows guidelines, so I can't argue with them. But I have family in law enforcement, and I have family who votes differently from me. And occasionally, I'm like, oh, do I get involved in these conversations? And it's kind of hard, you know. And I'm realizing that, especially with like American culture, having your mind change isn't exactly something that you can do, you know. But I just know that when my family speaks to me, I know that they respect me, you know, and that's all that I can ask for, is that they truly hear me out and respect my feelings and thoughts. And they ask the same of me, you know, and so I try and do that towards them as well, even if I disagree, you know. But I do my best to like show them other points of view. But
that's what it takes sometimes. Sometimes it's little conversations that take place that you might disagree in a lot of points, but
because there's so many factors like upbringings, and like everyone's from different places, you know, and they identify as different ethnicities, you know. So I'm like, there's only so much I can do, but I try my best to like be there for it, and not just there for it, but like there for them, and speak up for people who can't, you know.
I mean, and that's the reason why we need you to vote.
Yes, because not everyone can vote. Keep that in mind. Exactly. Like you've got to vote.
And, I mean, we definitely demand some change, or people demand change. But what is the one thing you want to see change with all this happening? With presidency and.
I just wish there was more genuine respect for humanity, regardless of what they look like or where they're from, and it breaks my heart, you know. I hate seeing like this like weird propaganda and like people talking down about, oh, the other side, the left, the right, and it's like, if we were just a little more mature about our conversations, regardless of what people are throwing at like what you believe, you know, like maybe we'd be a little more efficient about getting things done, you know. I hate all the malice and the subtle, like it's like real life subtweeting, you know what I mean? So I just wish there was more change, and people their lives are being respected, you know, and being taken care of.
True. I mean, but you know, you like you said, you have family that are in law enforcement, but it's difficult, right? It's challenging because it's like
there's so many, like, you truly, like, I just know how I feel about it, but like it's hard to tell someone who's in that situation what they should do when they're the ones in it, you know. And so I try to stay away from that, but I just say, like, dude, like these are people's lives.
Even with being giving advice, you know, it's that challenging because, you know, it could be that we don't know what the person is going through, the emotions and all that stuff. So hearing someone's advice sometimes, depending on the moment or the situation, it just doesn't sit well with everybody.
Yeah, and so you can't make everyone happy, you know. It breaks my heart, but I just want people. I just don't want to keep seeing people dying, you know, or people losing their family, you know.
True.
It's like, how can that be happening here, you know? Like, people come here to feel safe, you know, and it's just not fair that you don't get to feel safe just basically because of how you look or where you live, or where you're from. And that's not fair. Yeah.
Well, we started this podcast by mentioning something negative, right? Which you went through, which is your breakup. But what about now? How's your love life? Or are you available? Are you looking?
Good. I'm enjoying my time, and just trying to be happy, whether that be in a relationship or single, of all things, focusing on myself, and that's something I've learned is regardless of what relationship status or where I'm at when it comes to romance, I'm going to take care of myself, but it took what I had gone through to know that and understand that now,
Yeah, and I think, when you learn that, you're happier and you enjoy the relationship better.
Yeah.
There's so many things that happen in your brain as you mature, Well, that's Juan. Thank you very much for your time. It's an amazing conversation, getting to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, this is so fun.
You've been doing.
Thank you so much.
Can't wait. We're gonna have this on the audio format.
Okay.
And also on YouTube.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, definitely subscribe to Juan, you guys.
Like, share and subscribe, guys.
He's amazing. He deserves it.
This is the beginning of it all, and we're just we're not rushing.
Yeah.
We're just enjoying the process. I don't really expect this to explode or anything overnight, but
doesn't matter. You're putting out something beautiful for people to enjoy and receive, and that's all that matters.
It comes down to whether they're receiving something in return, right? Like if they're getting to know you,
Yeah.
But
there's room for it all.
There's room for it all.
Thanks for thank you for taking the time.
No, thank you for your time. But the thing is, we were having this conversation before we even started recording, and you said all these ideas are coming up in your head, but you're like, the one thing you said is, oh, but she already did everything, or the person already did everything, and like I said to you, same thing with this platform.
Room. Yeah,
I felt like I'm not gonna do it because there's all those other people who are already doing the same thing. But that was something that kept holding me back. Yeah. And now that I'm actually doing it,
you're right. I gotta stop holding myself back. Yeah. Thank you.
So for me,
I'm gonna take that from you for sure.
For me, it's just pressing record and simple thing as buying a microphone. Just took me there, to the next step, which is okay, cool. The very first recording I had with my wife, hearing my voice was very uncomfortable.
I bet it's gonna be uncomfortable for me too to hear it. I'm like, oh no.
So
it's okay, get over it.
But, learning how to edit, learning how to record properly, how to sync the video to the audio, little things that took me a long time before are now being a little more fluid. So
getting more comfortable.
And I'm enjoying it a lot more now. So.
Yeah, that's good. I'm happy for you. I'm happy you have something, that's on your own. That's very admirable to see happen.
It is a hobby. To be a part of. I picked up, and that's how I choose to spend my time right now.
Well, we're all proud of you. I hope you know.
Thank you. All right, Lena, that's appreciated. Enjoy the rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.
Say bye to the camera.
Bye, guys. Thanks for listening and everything. Bye-bye.